Welcome to Black Nouveau. I'm Joanne Williams. This week we'll take you to a special garden at 9th and Ring Streets. We'll meet community historian and now honorary doctorate recipient Irene Goggans, and we'll visit the Harvey Gantt Center for African American Arts and Culture in Charlotte, North Carolina. We begin with actor-producer Robert Townsend. You may remember he was in town recently when his film Hollywood Shuffle was screened at the Milwaukee Film Festival. Robert Townsend didn't act like the big-time movie star that he is. He burst through the crowd, smiling and willing to shake hands and talk to anybody. The Milwaukee Film Festival featured his groundbreaking movie Hollywood Shuffle as the centerpiece of its Black Lens series. 8 movies by Black filmmakers that would not be able to be seen in a true classic movie theater like this anywhere else.
Hollywood Shuffle was done in 12 days, over 2.5 years. 12 of the hardest days of my life. You talk about scouting locations, running from the police. You know, if the police couldn't see us, it was a good location. All my friends, one of my friends in the back started producing the movie with me, Mr. Bobby McGee. He's gonna come up here and talk with me afterwards. Mr. McGee in the back. The film was done in part, I had $60,000 in the bank. I had just finished a movie called A Soldier Story, and I told my agent, I said, I want to do more movies like this. You know, it was directed by Norman Jewis, and it was me, Denzel, Adolph Caesar, Howard Rollins. And my agent said, they only do one black movie a year, Robert, and you just did it. And I auditioned for The Color Purple, and I didn't get the part of Harpo, so I missed my black movie. So I decided I would make my own movie. And so Hollywood Shuffle was the first time I ever directed, picked up the camera. And so tonight, you know, I'm proud of this movie, and I hope you enjoy it for some of you that have not seen it. And we're going to have a discussion afterwards. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Hollywood Shuffle.
We're looking for is an Eddie Murphy type.
What is happening with your cool vines?
Thank you. Thank you.
You're the worst actor I've ever seen in my life.
Then they said I wasn't black enough for the part.
Ricky, can you tell us what you've been doing since you've graduated?
Well, Robert, I've played 9 crooks, 4 gang leaders, 2 dope dealers. I played a rapist twice.
Whoa.
That was fun.
They'll never play the Rambos until they stop playing the Sambos.
I would say that Hollywood Shuffle is my journey as a young actor of color in Hollywood, the obstacles that I had to face, semi-autobiographical, and I think it's very funny, you know, because we got funny people in it, and it's a touching story too.
What's changed in 2014?
I think there have been a lot of changes in Hollywood. When I think about Shonda Rhimes and I think about her doing Scandal, and then now the new show How to Get Away with Murder, Denzel right now is one of the biggest stars in Hollywood in terms of the box office. So we've made a lot of inroads, but you know, there's still more work to be done. What I tell new filmmakers is technology makes it so affordable to make a movie, to make a short film, to do anything. Is just conquering the fear. I think what holds a lot of people back is fear. They're afraid that they may fail, instead of understanding that anything you do is a lesson that you can learn from. Take the lesson.
So failure is something good?
Failure is a necessary brick for success. You know, because you learn more when you go like, okay, why didn't it work? Okay, oh man, I had to rewrite that, I had to re-edit that. Oh, that wasn't the right scene, I need to reshoot it. So if you can be patient, because I believe there are no accidents. I just think that sometimes, you know, you're being delayed because there's a bigger blessing at the end of the rainbow.
His buddy and sometimes producing partner, Bobby McGee, the one wearing the orange badge, had not been to Milwaukee before. Townsend, from the west side of Chicago, is familiar with Brewtown. In fact, he shared a very personal story about an earlier visit.
I had a very emotional moment when I was in Milwaukee. I was here and they were honoring me for something. I can't remember what it was. I want to say about 15 years ago. And it was some kind of dinner. And this woman sang a song to me, A Hero Comes Along. And she's here tonight. And she sang this song and I started crying like a baby because it was just like the way she sang it. And it was kind of like, my father was not in my life when I was a kid. He was a good guy, but he just wanted to run the streets. And when she sang that song, it reminded me of my father, because on his deathbed, you know, I took care of him, and it was like he said, I wish I would have got to know you better. You know, I wish I would have gotten, you know, and it was like at that time, and it just felt, and she sang that song, so I had this big moment in Milwaukee.
Robert Townsend seems to be constantly working. He has 3 projects underway this fall, including one that takes him off the screen and back onto the stage for a series of live performances.
There's a film that I finished called Playing for Love, and we're close to distribution. I shot it in Miami last year with myself, Sally Richardson, Lawrence Hilton Jacobs, Isai Morales. Thanksgiving, I just finished directing Bill Cosby on his next comedy special. It's going to be on Netflix. It premieres Thanksgiving. And then I've been working on a one-man show about my life, like all those movies and my whole journey. So I just did that in San Francisco. I workshopped that 2 weeks ago, and then I'll be back up there doing it in January.
That's kind of risky, isn't it? A show about your life?
It's really, it's scary, it's frightening. And it's all true. You know, I died a couple of times. I wasn't supposed to be here on a lot of levels. You know, so it's my journey. You know what I mean? Because you'll see the body of work there, but I'm a kid that came from a really rough neighborhood on the west side of Chicago with gangs everywhere, and I ran down the Rona alleys a couple of times, but you know, God was always watching over me. So it's kind of my journey, and then dealing with Hollywood and all the stuff I've been through, dealing with all these Hollywood type of people.
That can be just as treacherous as the alleys in Chicago.
Oh yeah, same alleys. Just different wardrobe.
In Charlotte, North Carolina in 1974, 2 area college professors started the Afro-American Cultural and Service Center. That evolved to the Harvey Gantt Center for African American Art and Culture, which continues the mission of preserving African American art, history, and culture.
As the demographics of our community continue to evolve, I think as a cultural center to engage the community in celebrating of African American culture is important, because African American culture is certainly mixed deeply into the fabric of American culture. So for a vibrant community, not just African Americans understand, but more importantly for others to come and understand.
And the institution's namesake, Harvey Gantt, has historical significance locally and nationally.
He was the first African American to integrate Clemson University. He was also the first African American mayor for Charlotte. And he also, if you remember, the embattled Senate campaign between he and Jesse Helms back in the late 80s. It was very important. I think the role that he played then was to show that a African American could run a major Senate campaign. And I think it's opened the door for many others that have come through, even our current president.
The Gantt Center is located downtown Charlotte. Historically, that's important.
It was important for the center to be on Main Street. So as Tryon Street is really Main Street for Charlotte, it was important for us to be in the epicenter of what's happening in Charlotte. But in addition to that, it was also important to come home to what we thought was a very important community, which was called the Brooklyn community. Where we stand now is the Brooklyn community. It was all African American homes and businesses that thrived until urban renewal in the 60s eliminated this community.
This architectural treasure was designed by Freeland & Associates, an African American company. The outside design configuration represents the biblical term Jacob's ladder and a quilt. The center interacts with the community through education and sees art playing a part in the enrichment and culture of a community.
For us, not just locally, we think the Gantt Center has evolved to a national institution where artists from all over the United States, and quite frankly, our next exhibition will reflect international artists coming to the center. But the enrichment of art and the role of art, helping close the cultural gaps in our community is part of it, igniting the creativity for youth to learn who will be our future leaders of our community. Those are all important components of art and creativity that I think the Gantt Center, presents in our community. Our permanent collection is a host of artists that we've accumulated over the last 40 years. But there is a particular collection that we were gifted by Bank of America, which was the John and Vivian Hewitt collection of African American art, which is the foundation of our collection currently. And it's on display now in our West Gallery, as it has traveled the country, and now it's home here at the Gantt Center. It is an amazing collection. Their story as individuals, as a couple of modest means who lived their passion, which was collecting art and engaging artists. They were a place that artists could come and sell their works, but also promote their works.
The gallery we're in, what does it represent?
Well, it really represents, for us, a 40-year journey through our visual arts legacy. The Gantt Center has been displaying artists over the last 40 years. Quite frankly, we've shown in some capacity over 325 artists over that period of time. And what we wanted to happen in this particular gallery, that we refer to this exhibition as 40 and Counting, is really about walking back through memory lane, if you will, about the kinds of exhibitions. So these are some of the artists that have been represented over the past 5 decades.
The kind of artists the Gantt Center showcases can be seen in North Carolina native Dr. Eugene Grisby.
Dr. Eugene Grisby was one of the last masters, if you will. He was an amazing artist, educator, author. He passed away about a year and a half ago at 94 years of age. I had the pleasure of visiting with him in his home and gallery and studio space in Arizona, and an amazing individual. With roots here in Charlotte, roots in the Carolinas, we are honored to bring him back. He still has brothers and sisters and nephews and nieces that live here in the community, and it's just great to be able to honor him in such a way with showing some of his selected works. First and foremost, we want people to really see the center as a place that they can come and get great appreciation of a culture. Not just the art, but really a culture, and really understanding that. We think the art presents an opportunity for people to expand their level of appreciation. African American art is so dynamic, and it's in terms of what it presents and the messaging in it, that we think it is critical to our youth and really to our adults as well, in terms of better understanding, a community. And when people can walk away, and which we hear often, which we're very pleased to hear, that hey, that was a great exhibition. We know that we are making the kind of impact that we would like to make.
Sometimes a garden can be much more than just a garden. Our Bobby Drake brought this story to our attention.
Usually about 6:30 a.m. or 6:45 a.m. my doorbell rings and it wakes me up, and it's somebody, one of these boys, let me know, Mr. Andre, I'm in the garden. Because they know that at 8 o'clock when this program starts, you got to be on time. If you late, I won't work it, because as black men, we can't work part-time. Our job is full-time. And we got to teach our boys to be on time for this, maybe they'll be on time for school. So you come out here 7:30, it starts to get crowded. I would reckon to tell you it's probably 40-something boys here already around that time. At 10 to 8, 5 to 8, you can look north, south, east, and west, and you can see little black boys running to make it here. Some of them have walked from 60th and Silver Spring. This is 9th and Ring, so you're talking a few miles from here to be riding a bike or walking. Some of them have walked from 38th and Colina, which is a distance. Some of them are coming from 45th and Roosevelt, walking. So they start out at 6:30, 6:45 in the morning, walking to get here. It's amazing. To see young African American boys who everybody thought, or many people labeled as over, just beginning. It's amazing.
My name is Casey Holmes, I'm 16. I've been in this garden for 11 weeks now. And what I think about this is really helping us, it's really helping me really. It's helping me to become a man and a better person. And it's really bringing the hood together. And Mr. Andre Liel has really been helping us, get through stuff. I have been in a little trouble, but it's actually helping me move on. And I would like to continue this program to make my life better.
How y'all doing? My name is Harris Perry. I'm 13 years old. I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I just come to the garden just to help the community, and we all come together as one and we come and help the cities be clean and help the hoods be clean, well, the neighborhoods, so nobody won't get in trouble. And the Saturday mornings is a blessing for every kid to come out and enjoy themselves and have fun and just stay out of trouble so they won't get locked up nowhere.
What led you to start this project?
Earlier June, one of the neighbors on my block, a young lady, a mother, knocked on my door and told me that her young 11-year-old son was getting into a lot of trouble, breaking into cars and things like that. And so she asked me if I would help her. So I offered him to work in the garden with me on Saturdays for 4 hours from 8 to 12. That Saturday we worked, and that's how it started.
And this young man, when you say work in the garden, what garden are you referring to? You have a ton of...
I live on 9th and Ring, and on the corner of 9th and Ring is a community garden called the DMZ Community Garden, started by Miss Dawn Powell and Miss Marna Winbush. November 2011, I moved there, and the first week I was there was a murder in the street. I came into the house, and right when I came in the house, I heard gunshots. When I looked outside, there was a body laying in the street. So when I went outside, saw all of that unfold. There was an empty lot next to my house, and I asked what that was. They said a community garden, and from there, we began to get to work to improve the neighborhood.
And improving that neighborhood, and you brought the young man to work with you day in and day out.
Well, that came a couple of years later. This was a few years ago, November 2011. This summer, thank God that the community garden had been established because it was there for this young man. I brought him out to the garden. We worked that first Saturday. The next Saturday, he came. You want me to tell the story?
Absolutely.
Is that what you? Okay, well, you didn't tell me you was cutting me loose.
What happened,
brother? The next Saturday, he came with 5 other young men. I didn't have the money to pay them, and so I put a post on Facebook because I believe in my community. I especially believe in black people. I do. All my life, black people have come through. So I put a post on Facebook that I had 6 young men working in the community garden with me, and I wanted 5 other black men to come so that we could pay them $5 an hour, a total of $20. 7 men showed up. The next week it was 10. The following week it was 15. It went on for 21 weeks.
What was the biggest amount?
The biggest amount was 94 young men, and that was August 30th when we did our final presentation. But up until then, every Saturday from 8 to 12, we would gather at the garden on 9th and Ring, and no matter what the amount of young men that came, we would take a picture, we put a post on Facebook, we asked the community to come out, and by God, the community did.
Did that reaction surprise you?
Yes.
Them coming out?
Yes.
Or the community supporting?
You don't know what I was feeling when I was in there on a Saturday and had 70 young black boys on 9th and Ring and promised them $20 and didn't know where it was coming from.
Right.
It surprised me every time at 12 o'clock when we had the right amount of money to pay them. There was never a Saturday that we lacked.
Now, what happens next?
Well, the next thing that happens is that, well, let me just tell you this. It became such a great thing for the boys. Their self-esteem was built up. School started already. The young men, I see them walking in the community. It changed the tone. Even our non-African American neighbors that live there are excited about the movement. It's made national attention. It's showing that communities, people in the community have the power. They have a right. If they work together, you don't have to. It doesn't never have to be ugly. You don't have to be rich to love and to feel good.
Now, how
you asked me what was next?
Well, not just what was next, because that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But how do people get involved? How do more people get involved? I mean, what's the next step? Where do we go?
I didn't even know this was going to happen, and it did. So now a committee has been formed, and we're talking about what the next thing is. And I noticed that a lot of young African-American boys get interested when you introduce them to things that they don't usually do. Like, a lot of them aren't good in math. So next, I'd like to teach them the stock market using math as a basis.
And
I think that'd be interesting.
How does somebody watching get in contact with you to get involved with helping you with that?
It's easy. We're going to do the business stuff that we need to do with We Got This, which is the name of the program.
Okay.
We Got This Incorporated.
And where can they find you?
They can give a call to 779-2476 is the number to reach me at, or by email at andreleeellis1@gmail.com if I can. That's the best way for them to reach me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, listen, brother, we thank you very much for all that you've done and for coming through.
Wow.
And yeah, just keep on with the good work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want everybody to know, as is often said, telephone, telegram, or tell Irene. I want the world to know of our rich and beautiful heritage, wonderful people I remember.
Irene Goggans is a community historian. She's been saving photographs, newspaper clippings, and programs for more than 70 years. Stories of almost everyone she meets, and she has met so many.
This has been pretty much going on for as long as I can remember. I can remember albums, photo albums, being in the house since I was a kid, really.
Her only child, Kenny, said Irene was the neighborhood mom, the woman who welcomed all the other kids into her home and supported organizations like the Boy Scouts and the Northside YMCA.
This actually shows the dedication or the laying of the cornerstone of the Y at 12th and North Avenue.
1964.
In Garfield.
But the amazing part of this history collection is not just the thousands of pictures and documents that are tucked away in every corner of her apartment, but that the index for them all is her. Irene remembers almost every face and family in each picture.
This is called the Old Phalanx Club at the YMCA. This is Oscar Young, Russell Bowers, Idas Lewis, Billy Saunders, Lawrence Saunders, J.C. Thomas, Vincent Bevernew. There's Lincoln Gaines, C.L. Johnson, and there's your father, John Williamson, Harry Gardner, Pat Goggans, Clarence Jackson, Bill Mosby, Eugene Bell, Sanford Carter.
That's her passion. She loves the historical side of a whole lot of things. She wants you to come into her home, and the archive would be you, her bringing the book out, her showing you a picture, and then her giving you a 3-hour story. That's what needs to be archived. Just her conversation. She loves to interact with people.
Her husband, Pat Goggans, supported her passion. After all, what else could he do?
I don't know, but I know that my husband, I read the newspaper with the scissors in my hand, and in the evening maybe he would be going to read Journal or Sentinel or something, and he would turn to a page and there would be a great big space there where I cut it out, and he asked me if I could please. I said, well, I thought you had read the paper, I would forget it.
After World War II, Irene and Pat Goggans met, and the rest is, well, of course, history.
But then when he came out, we connected some kind of way, and I remember being at the Y, that was a very vital activity point. And, well, it clicked. And oh boy, am I happy for that. It brought much joy to my life. And we were married on May 24th, 1947 at 1619 North 4th Street, the home of my Aunt Lizzie and Uncle Lolo Bishop. But then in the fall, we were blessed to move into the apartment of Carver Memorial Homes, that historic co-op that blacks had built in the 1800 block of North of 4th Street. There were 10 units in there, and it was directly across the street from the old St. Michael's Hospital that later relocated to 24th and Villard, and down the street from St. Francis Catholic Church.
Details, details. That's what makes history. Irene remembers them all.
In the 40s, when you were in Milwaukee, there weren't that many black folks living in Milwaukee at the time. And you seem to remember, or you knew, practically everybody.
Yeah, it was easy to know people because we were kind of concentrated. When we came here, I would say like Juneau Avenue was like the hub.
You have a wonderful memory. You seem to remember everything, dates, addresses. Is that because you collect all this material?
When I started this scrapbook or heritage books as I call them, it was just interesting to me, and I've had the feeling that we as a race had been written out of history, so I was going to write it in.
But you started to say you thought about giving this up.
Yeah.
Well,
the people are still here. They're still doing things, and people need to know that. They need to be like Alex Haley's grandfather said, find the good and praise it. I'm so tired of all the negative news. We have beautiful people of all colors, but I'm especially interested in people of color.
But this is a lot of work to collect all this
stuff. It's a lot of work.
When are you going to say, I've done enough, I'm just going to sit back and...
Well, I guess when my eyes shall close in there, I probably will still be talking, or maybe come behind my casket and say, oh, I forgot to tell you, did I tell you the story of thus and so? It's so vivid. I just can't tell you how things connect up.
And that's our program for this week. For Black Nouveau, I'm Joanne Williams. Thanks for watching.